Joe Stone here. We're going to be talking today about different rhythms you can play with the right hand to work with your chord progressions that you're going to be doing in the key of C major and the key of A minor. So up to now we just talked about doing quarter notes, just one strum for every click of the metronome in 4/4 time. But you can also, and we also talked about doing whole notes, which would be one strum for every 4 clicks, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And we also talked about half notes, which is one strum for every 2 clicks, and that's like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then quarter notes: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're gonna mix it up a little today, doing quarter notes to start, but removing one or more of the quarter notes. So you'll either have a rest or you'll sustain the note you had just played and then have it fill up the space. So we'll start with doing a quarter note rest. Now, generally you want to silence the strings when you rest. So if I'm going to just do a C chord, and I'm going to remove the third, out of 4 quarter notes, I'm going to remove the third note and silence the string on that one. So it's going to be 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, rest, 4. So do that one more time. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I'm going to remove the first and third quarter note out of 4 quarter notes. So I've got rest, 2, rest, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, etc. Now I could sustain instead of stopping the strings, which would make the note before the rest and then the rest, instead of a rest, we'd just make that whole space into a half note because that's 2 beats. So it'd be like quarter note. If we remove the third quarter note, it would be like a whole quarter note, and then a half note, and then another quarter note. So that sounds like this: 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the only difference is I didn't stop the string in between. All right, now we're going to move on to, now you could take away whichever quarter notes you want. All right, now the 8th notes are generally played down up for every stroke. So you put the upstroke in between 2 clicks to really get them even. If you feel like they're not even, you can double the speed of the metronome and do every click be a different direction stroke. So really that's like 2 clicks in a beat, and you're getting a click on the halfway of the beat just to really get a very steady 8th notes. Those would just be very steady, not any kind of shuffle or anything like that. But we're just going to deal with the 1 click for every 2 8th notes, and that's a down up stroke. Now if you're playing with a pick, you got to get used to what it's like to do an upstroke with a pick. So just try that. You can do thumb and then come up with a thumb, but that gets the nail against the string, and it's a different kind of tone there. So if you want the soft sound of skin on string, I would come up with a finger down with the thumb. So 1 and 2 and. Okay, we'll do a measure of 8th notes, and that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with the metronome. 1 and 2. 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, and you can do all downstrokes on the eighth notes if you want to. It's a different approach. It's kind of maybe not the default, but okay, so here we go. 2, 3. I'll go back to the pick. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Down, down, down. 2 and 3 and 4. And all right. But let's go back to thinking about in terms of down up for the eighth notes. Now, once you start removing some of the eighth notes, so if you're going to play every single eighth note in a 4-beat measure in 4/4 time, you're going to have 1, 2, you're going to have 8 notes. That's why it's an eighth note. Okay, so we can remove any of those. The way you count, if you had all the eighth notes there, it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if you get rid of one, I'm not going to say that in my phrase. So if I got rid of the 2-beat downstroke eighth note, and I got rid of the 4-beat downstroke eighth note, I wouldn't say that if I'm just trying to hear the sound of the phrase while I'm counting. I would just say 1 and with the metronome. I would say 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3 and. Some people might want to whisper what the missing beat is, but I don't do that. So it'd just be like 1 and 3 and. If I'm going to play that, you could just mute the strings. You're not worried about whether you're sustaining the note or having short chords. You're just trying to get the sound of the rhythm. You can mute the strings so that the sound of the string isn't just ringing in your ear. So I'm going to go for my eighth note pattern. 2, 3, 4. Down, up, up, down, up, up. And I'll count that as numbers. 4. 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and. Okay, so I can also remove different eighth notes. So I'm going to get rid of the first eighth note, the 1-beat, and I'm going to get rid of the 3-beat downstroke. So then I have and 2 and 4 and I'll do that with just dead strings. And I'll do down ups. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 4 and 2 and 4 and 2 and 4 and. All right, now we're going to do another example. I'm going to get rid of the and after the 1 as an eighth note, and I'm going to also get rid of the 3-beat downstroke. So I got rid of the first upstroke after the 1, and then the downstroke for the 3-beat. So what that ends up being is 1, 2 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 4 and 1, 2 and 4 and 1, 2 and 4 and 1, 2 and 4 and. That's a great strum right there. All right, now for the first note, if I'm going to get rid of a down arrow, I'm going, and the same thing goes for quarter notes, I'm going to actually miss above the strings just to help me keep time, keep my place in the rhythm. And if I get rid of if it's eighth notes, if I get rid of one of the upstrokes, I'm not going to worry about if I'm missing the string or not. I'm just not going to think about that, because you have to come up every time you come down. So that just happens naturally. But when you don't play on a down, you have to kind of think about it. So I do a miss. I do like a dotted arrow, dotted down arrow if I'm writing it. Okay, so that first 1, 2, and there's nothing on the upstroke. You can either sustain the chord, or you could stop that would be the easier thing to do, or you could stop the chord and have it be like an eighth note rest. So it'd be like down, down, up. So it'd be like 1, 2, and instead of 1, 2, and. Very similar, just a small little thing where you have to stop the strings if you're putting a rest in there as opposed to sustaining the chord. Okay, now these are one measure phrases or 1 bar phrases. You can also extend them to be 2 bar phrases that just repeat for more variety. So I'll just come up with one where I took, an eighth note, starting with all eight eighth notes and removing some of them. So first bar, I'm going to remove the 2-beat downstroke and the 4-beat downstroke. So I'll do an A minor chord. It's going to be down, up, miss, up, down, up, miss, up. Or if I'm counting, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, and then for the second bar, I'm going to do quarter note. I'm going to do all eighth notes, but then I'll get rid of the upstroke eighth note on the and after 1 and the and after 2. So I end up, and I'm not going to put any rests in, so I end up with 2 quarter notes there. And then I'll just leave alone the 3 and 4 and the second half of the measure. So what I have is 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm coming up with these strum patterns by pretty much starting out with all the possible notes for whatever division of the beat I want to do. These 2 bars I'm doing starting with all eighth notes, then getting rid of some, and if I get rid of an upstroke, it might just end up being a quarter note for that beat. Okay, so putting those 2 patterns together, we get a longer phrase, and it sounds like this. A minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and. I messed that up. Let's try that again. It's 1 and, not 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 4, and repeat 1 and 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and up, down, up, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. All right, so you can get all kinds of different variations, different types of rhythm patterns. You can divide the beat further into, it's called a triplet, or into 16th notes. But we're not going to be dealing with that quite yet. We're just going to leave it there for the rhythm. So we started out with whole notes. Then we divided into half notes, just 2 beats, 2 clicks per note or chord. And then we did quarter notes. Then we did eighth notes. Now, the total number of beats in a measure is usually 4 beats. That's like a 4/4 time signature. The top number of the time signature is telling you how many beats in the measure. So you could have a 3/4 or 3/4 time signature. So it would be 3 beats in a measure. And if you wanted to have just one note, instead of a whole note, you do a half note with a dot after it. The dot just means you're adding half the value of whatever note the dot is following. So that's half of 2. Half note is 2, so half of that is 1. So combine that, it's 3 beats total. And or you could do 3 quarter notes. That would you count to 3 over and over again for your measures. And that's less common time signature, but it's you should try that, doing some progressions like that in 3 time. There are other time signatures we'll talk about later, but we'll leave it there as far as different things you can do for your strum patterns. You can use a pick, you can use down thumb, up finger. Also, a little later we'll talk about, instead of strumming, you might want to do a picking pattern where you pick individual strings of a chord, or finger pick the patterns. But that's coming up. All right, have fun with that, and good luck. And if you like what you're watching, please subscribe to the channel, and you'll be sure to see new videos as I post them.